All right, welcome back to Beat About Interviews. This is Jesse A.M. I am joined by Hunter Roberts.
Hey.
Hey. In the back of the Blue Moon Dinner Theater here in Johnson City. We are waiting for Apologies to Follow Showcase to start, and Hunter was actually our November feature for the interviews, but this is a little late blooming. So, Hunter, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And it makes sense that I would be the interview that's late because I'm late for fucking everything.
Well, I'm perfecting it as a craft.
Yeah.
It's sort of my trademark at the moment. But let's go ahead and start off with your podcast, which is My TV Stories. It's been airing for a few months now. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it started out as I don't have a life, so I watch a lot of TV shows. I call them my TV stories. I did the math, and it was this season alone I was watching 27 network shows, and it's just stuff on networks, not like, AMC and HBO and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the bottom rung, really.
Yeah, like it's just ABC and Fox and CW and NBC and CBS and stuff like that. But I was doing that for a little bit, and it was like I would watch the episodes that would air, and then I would talk about them the next day. But the problem was it was usually just me doing that because it was hard to get guests on to talk about the show the very next day. So it was very boring. So then I had to do a reformat for the show. I'd find a guest each week, and we would find a show that we both loved, talk about that. The first time I did that was at the Scruffy City Comedy Festival in Knoxville. Had a couple of live podcasts in front of an audience, which was a great time. Had a great girl named Kayla Avery out of Boston, and then we talked about Nashville. And then I had Matt Shadorn and Liz Brooks on the next day to talk about Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's Matt Shadorn from the QED Comedy Lab,
yeah,
right?
He runs a show down there. It's a lot of fun. Each week is a different theme, so you're never going to get to see the same show twice. So that's awesome. But the shows it had to. I was forced to reformat because I was boring, and I hate I didn't even want to listen to my shows back because it was just like it's just like this crazy person rambling into his computer about TV shows he watched the night before.
So speaking of which, what is your favorite show this season? I kind of know in my own non-life, which is basically Netflix and network television, what it is. But what are you digging on right now?
I'm a big fan of Arrow. Arrow's fantastic.
It's some of the best action on the network television.
And no, it's even like it's some of the best action. Period. Like I've seen shittier action in movies, and this is a TV episodic weekly. On a weekly basis. That's pretty good.
Is just so committed to his role. You've seen his training videos.
Yeah, he's a scary man. Arrow's really good. I'm a big fan of the originals on the CW. It's a spinoff of the Vampire Diaries. I like that. I also big Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I like that.
Which is my badge right now. That's the thing that I'm into just because it's improved so dramatically.
Yeah, it was
basically a tub of shit to begin with.
It wasn't a tub of shit. It was one of those things that Joss Whedon is smarter than other people. It has to lag because you have to build these characters, and so like once you go through the boring couple of episodes at the beginning, it really picks up speed, especially towards the end of the season. It's like fucking amazing. If you look at the first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, it's dog shit. It's god awful, but he sets the groundwork for the later seasons,
which are terrific.
Yeah, it's again some of the best stuff that's ever been on TV.
So speaking of, what is the worst? What is the thing that you have had to plow through? Are there any shows like that, or when something gets so bad, do you really just cut it?
Mulaney was dog shit. John Mulaney's show, which is amazing because he's such a great comedian.
No, I've heard about that.
Fantastic comedian, but his show was just so boring. It was the first one that I jettisoned. A couple of other shows got canceled this season. I think it was Manhattan Love Story was the first one to get canceled. Then Selfie got canceled, and so like a bunch of other stuff got canceled. But no, Mulaney was bad. Like I remember watching 2 episodes in a row and I didn't even chuckle, and that's when I was like, no, I'm giving up.
Yeah, and for a guy who is a professional comedian, it's not good. So another thing that's been recent is actually the debut of your new album, Old Man, Babyface.
Yes.
This has been in the work for quite a while, since the last Blue Plum. So,
yeah.
I imagine you're pretty excited to get that out there. And, where can everybody find this? Where can they get a hold of it? And what was the experience like?
It was a lot of fun. I did actually hear at the Blue Moon during Blue Plum, a lot of blues. But it was a lot of fun. I did it over the course of 2 nights. And it was a fun story. I did it the first night, nailed it. Fucking like awesome. And then the second night I got up there and on stage to start the show off with, I was like, here's the thing. Recorded my album last night. It's in the can. It's awesome. So we're just going to have fun tonight. Turns out that the recording from the first night was off. It had like audio issues. So it just so happens that I went out the second night and had a good show and got to use that one. But currently it's only in digital download. The people that helped fund it got their copies. It was on Fundly. Had an awesome group of friends. They donated and it helped get made. Around Christmas and New Year's, you're gonna get physical copies. It's gonna come out on iTunes, Spotify, the whole thing. So New Year, new CD, a lot of fun. Old Man Babyface. Somebody was like, "What? You've been doing comedy like a short amount of time. Why would you record an album?" And I was like, "I had an hour. I got tired of doing it, so I recorded it."
And there
and moved on.
Yeah. All your content's there, so you don't have to trip over that old material again and again. On top of that, you may have been doing comedy for a shorter while than most people would think as far as doing an album, but you've been doing Gonzo Geek for a while. You've been a part of this website that's gone on and on for different parts of pop culture experiences, and you've actually gone to San Diego Comic-Con. So what can you tell us about Gonzo Geek and your experiences there?
GonzoGeek.com was a friend of mine named John Morehouse. He's actually been on my TV stories before. He runs his own site. I got to give him a plug right now because he's the one that hosts my podcast. It's MMAinsider.com. Which is weird that's where the TV Stories podcast is hosted, on the MMA website.
They're both drama,
Yeah. We met from when I was a wrestler. I was a professional wrestler for 3 years. That's another thing that happened in my life that's weird. But we met through that. He's a writer, and he's written for them since, I think, day one. And he was like, "You would be really good at this." So I started off writing a food article because I like to cook. I'm a big cooking person. My family owns a bakery in Gate City. So I started. It was called The Plastic Spoon. I taught like easy ways to cook stuff, and then it just kind of spiraled out from there. I started writing about comic books and movies and video games, and then I started doing video stuff. And then I got to go to Comic-Con and meet all kinds of awesome people. I got to interview Patton Oswalt, which was like a
dream come true.
Like one of the nicest dudes you've ever met too. And it was when he was recording his new special down there. So I interviewed him, and then like the next night I went and saw his recorded special. There's if you listen to it on Spotify, because it's on Spotify. There's a bonus track that he does. He comes back out and does an encore. And if you turn the volume up really loud during one part, you hear one person in the audience losing their shit, while like a couple of other people are like chuckling. That's me. So that was my debut on Patton Oswalt's album. I'm on Patton's album because I found one joke way funnier than anybody else in the audience did.
So on top of all these different things you do, you're actually an MC and host for 2 different comedy specials. You do the Apologies to Follow showcase here at the Blue Moon in just a few minutes, and you also host Comedy and Beer at the Sleepy Owl Brewery. What do you feel about hosting?
The craziest thing about hosting is that I'd never done it before. Like I have a background in acting, and that's where I kind of got into comedy in that sense, but I shouldn't be in charge of anything, and like I'm in charge of 2 shows myself. So it's just crazy to me. But Beat About was going on in Bristol, and that's how I wound up getting back on stage. Brad White asked me if I wanted to come and be a part of the show one night, and I went and randomly got on stage, used some jokes that I'd written forever ago when I started doing comedy. And Beat About was awesome for like a good period of time, and then Beat About lost its place. We lost the venue that we was always held.
We were at Machiavelli's for quite a while, and then it just stopped dead in its tracks.
Yeah. So I realized that from Beat About, myself and Nathan and Sterling and Brad, we'd all gone out to different areas locally, and Bristol had gotten a good name for itself. The Tri-Cities had got a good name for itself as a place to come and do comedy, and I didn't want that to die. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't. So I immediately, as soon as I was told, because I was the headliner for the last ever Beat About comedy show, and so like I immediately, as soon as I was told, I started contacting people, and I wound up getting in touch with Ed at Ed Breeze here at the Blue Moon Dinner Theater, and we worked something out. And there was only about a month where there wasn't comedy in the Tri-Cities, so that was really cool. And then this show's been really successful, extremely successful. And then I am an alcoholic, so there's a brewery in Kingsport that I went to, and I wound up having a great time hanging out with the people there. and I got to know the owner, Brian. He's a super cool dude, and we discussed doing a stand-up comedy show, and it's under the umbrella of beer and comedy, which is I got the idea from a friend of mine in Atlanta named Joe Pettis. He runs a beer and comedy show he's done it at Thomas Creek. He runs a one out of the Sweetwater Brewery down there in Atlanta. So I was like, it's a good concept. And it can work here. It can work anywhere. Yeah, because people are always funnier when you're drunk. And like I think I'm hilarious. Period. But then I get drunk and I think I'm like I'm goddamn Jesus of comedy. So beer and comedy, they paired really well. And beer and comedy it's getting a good name for itself too. So because I went out to a friend of mine, Carmen Morales. She had a fundraiser show in Orlando, and I was just down there and I was talking about the show, and they were like, "Holy shit, really want to come and do that because it's like it's a fun venue." You know what I'm saying? That's
the key in this area for comedy, I think, is having a fun venue and fun people.
Yeah, because if you go to like say Machiavelli's, I loved them, God love them. They had us there forever, but it was a restaurant at the end of the day, and so it was you didn't have a lot of people in there for comedy. You had people that were in there eating, and then they were like, "What is this? Why did this person just talk about his taint?" And so like they would get huffy and leave or talk to your set. It works better when you're in a venue where people know what they're coming to see.
Absolutely.
So that's we're here at a theater that's when you come to the theater you know what you're getting into. You go to the brewery, it's beer and comedy. When you walk in the door, they tell you what it is. So it works out really good.
And I know that the Apologies to Follow is twice a month, every other Thursday, which you can check out in the Apologies to Follow showcase. It's in our concert tours on Facebook. Mm-hmm. But what about the Sleepy Owl? That's the second Tuesday of the month?
It's every other Tuesday. So it just kind of depends on how many Tuesdays there are in a month for how many shows we end up doing. My official, I think I can announce this, my official album release party. We're going to have a lot of great people down for that. I think JC Ratliff's coming down. He's done Beat About before. But Jasper, he's a guy that got his start here on the Apologies to Follow stage. Fantastic guy. It's going to be January 13th. So it's going to be my official album release show. There's going to be a bunch of other people coming in.
And that will be at the Sleepy Owl Brewery.
Yeah, Sleepy Owl Brewery recorded, which is so funny that like my two places that I host comedy, like there's this one, there's Apologies to Follow at Blue Moon, which is where I recorded my album, and then I've got Sleepy Owl as my other show, which is where I'm releasing my album. So it's kind of like a circular kind of thing that I've got going, which is a lot of fun.
All right, so you just heard it. Hunter Roberts' record release party for Old Man Babyface. It's January 13th at the Sleepy Owl Brewery. Make sure you're there. Come down, have a great time. In the meantime, we're going to get on to a show. So that's Jesse A. and Hunter Roberts for Beat About. And have a great night.
Bye.